Okay. All right. Thank you for joining Willy, Nanyakkara and Associates Immigration Webinar this morning. My name is Shivanti, here with Principal Attorney George Willy and of counsel to the firm, former U.S. Department of Immigration Judge Jimmy Benton. Co-hosting with me today is Vanshika Vipin from Namaste Radio. Vanshika, thank you for joining us. If you would like to tell us a little bit about your show and Namaste Radio, we'd love to hear about it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much and good morning to everyone. Thank you, Shivanti, for giving me this opportunity. And thank you to Mr. George Willy and the entire firm for making Namaste Radio a part of this webinar. Namaste Radio is a 24/7 online radio with a live show every Saturday at 10 a.m. And we broadcast through 99.5 FM, through our Facebook and YouTube live channels, our phone apps, our website, and Amazon Alexa. Ever since COVID, we've realized the need of a digital platform. So we've tried to be available on all these various different platforms. And today we will be talking about, various topics on the upcoming Biden administration. But for now, that was about Namaste Radio. And I would ask Shivanti to go forward now.
Thank you, Vanshika. You can also reach out to us with a question this morning. I know some have already been sent in to you, which we're excited to address via instant message on WNNA's Facebook page or on this live Zoom platform that we're broadcasting at the moment. We'd love to hear from our audience. WNNA broadcasts this live webinar twice a month to discuss immigration law and answer any questions you might have. Over to you, Vanshika.
Thank you. Today, like I was talking about, our topic is the most anticipated and much talked about President Biden's administration immigration reform. As it continues to unfold, we know that a lot of changes are coming and with profound impact. And that is why we need an expert from the immigration field to guide us through this process. And we are very thankful to Mr. George Willy and Judge Benton for taking out time to discuss this and share their knowledge on this topic.
Perfect. Please tune in next Friday, March 19th for our next webinar. And with that, I'll turn it over to our panelists.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Shivanti, as usual. And Vanshika, welcome to the webinar. And I've known Vanshika for a very long time, and good to see you bloom into a radio host now. So I'm glad to see that, and please give my regards to your dad as well. So
thank you so much.
That said, I have Judge Jimmy Benton on today to talk about the Biden immigration proposals. And one of the issues that I want to clarify also is that Biden's proposals are not law yet. I have a barrage of questions over every day in the office from clients and others who want to know whether, how they can qualify under this program. I have to remind them that it is not law yet. These were proposals that the president made on the first day of his administration to also send a signal that he is very serious about immigration reform. And also, I think he wanted to contrast himself with the previous administration, which was deadly against any immigration benefit in expanding. In fact, they were choking so many avenues that we usually had prior to the Trump administration. So we welcome the President Biden's initiative here on immigration law. And Judge Benton, of course, has served on the bench here in Houston for a long time. In fact, I've appeared before him. He shut me down a few times, and he's currently a off counsel to our firm. And We are very, very privileged to have him in that capacity. And uh, and also to have joined us here today to discuss the immigration reform efforts by the Biden administration. So, Judge, um, first of all, just give us just an overview of what you think the Biden reform is going to do and how it's going to proceed.
Greetings to all. I can say that we are in a much better place today, even with a proposal that has not been made into law, than we were during the 4 years of the previous administration. The previous administration apparently tried to kill immigration with 1,000 cuts. They didn't make any one sweeping law. They did a whole bunch of executive actions that affects almost everything we do in the immigration field. Now, what President Biden has done, he's tried to address all those cuts by eliminating the negative consequences of those cuts. And the big overall plan is to have a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million or more immigrants or non-immigrants or illegal immigrants who are in the United States. We don't call them illegal immigrants anymore. They are non-citizens. So the Biden administration is taking a proactively positive approach to immigration. It is a more humane and more Christian-like approach to it, and we welcome that. As Mr. Willy indicated, it's not law, it's just a proposal. The actual Citizenship Act is 32 pages in length. These 32 pages has the broad outline of how the Biden administration wants to proceed. And before it's all said and done, there'll be changes to that. And from those, from that statute, if it ever is passed, and we'll keep our fingers crossed it will be passed, there'll be regulations, many regulations dealing with the particulars that people tend to have questions about now. But the big picture is, if President Biden's proposal goes through in substantial part, 11 million people will have a pathway to citizenship that starts first with something called a lawful prospective immigrant status, LPI. You'll be an LPI for 5 years, and once from LPI, you can go to permanent resident, and then 3 years later, you can become a U.S. citizen. And there's also a proposal for DACA and TSP people to go straight to permanent resident status.
So, Judge, I thought the 8 years was kind of interesting. That will be the end of Biden's 8 years. Hopefully, he'll be. And then that allows all these immigrants becoming citizens to vote for another Democrat. so I don't know. I mean, the timing may not work that way, but it seemed interesting that the 8 year, the period would kind of give you that impression. Now, I remember seeing Senator Menendez, I think, who is heading the reform bill, the drafting of the bill, and in the House, I forgot the member. So they were both on CNN, I believe, and they said they have already drafted the bill, or at least they were in the process of drafting.
Yeah.
Now, so it would be nice for us to review the draft bill to see some of the details that we are looking for, and so that would be interesting for us to see. For instance, the 8-year pathway to citizenship. What are the prerequisites for that? Now, I know there were previous bills in which the requirements were that they have to show that they paid their taxes, that they know English, that they also have enough civic, knowledge to answer the citizenship questions. So I'm wondering what the requirements are going to be, and I remember they were talking about a 5-year uh, presence here in the United States and a presence on January 1st, 2021 as being the condition. So now as the bill is being drafted, I'm wondering how they have, the specific information that has been, how they're going to view that and how they are going to sort of compose those requirements. So that'll be interesting to see the draft. Now, your expertise obviously is in the litigation area. You were sitting on the bench listening to good and bad lawyers all day, and then deciding the fate of several people. So, given that, Judge, in the reform, are there any aspects of the 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 litigation side of things that have been dealt with by the administration?
Before before we move on, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Judge. Just to get in a little stopping point here for a question, Vanchika, that you were that somebody sent to you before we go on into that response. You need to.
You're muted.
Yes. Thank you so much, Shivanti. I was actually waiting to ask that question. So we, some people were not able to be present during this webinar. So like Shivanti said, they had sent it to us before. And the question that they had was quite interesting for me because I took the citizenship or the civics test actually, a long time ago when it was only 100 questions. And apparently, I learned this now through this question that during the Trump administration, the questions were changed to 128 questions. But now again, after President Biden's administration, it's going to change back. So how would if they've applied for their citizenship and the test, they're still waiting for it because for some time they did not get the appointment for it. So how would they know that how many questions are they supposed to prepare for now? So this person was very confused about that.
Let me just quickly take a jab at it and then let the judge respond to that. So there was a date by which it will start. Okay. So if your application was prior to that date, then you come under the old rules, the old questions, the old set of questions. If your application was made after that date, then you fall under the new rules. All right. Now I can't remember exactly what that date was, and I don't know if the judge remembers. So they need to look to see what date were the effective date of the new rules, the new questions, and then that should answer the question. Now, Vanchika, you gave me something new. I did not know that the Biden administration has returned the thing back to the 100 questions and then the old questions. So that's something new. I didn't even know. So we'll see what the judge has to say.
Yeah, and sorry, just a little note there. I actually went and looked up the USCI's website, and it has a note on top right there saying that it is reverting back to 2008 version of the civics test. So that's the knowledge. Yeah, that I was like, okay, great.
Yeah, the changes that the Biden administration tried to put in place affected basically how many questions you were asked during the interview. Now you're asked 10 questions and you must get at least 6 right. If you get 6 right, the first 6 right, they don't bother asking you the other 4 questions. But under the Trump administration, they wanted to make it 20 questions and you had to answer all 20 questions. But still only 60% was required to pass, but you still had to answer all 20 questions. Just intimidating more than anything else.
You know how they find every little thing to make it harder. Some guy, some evil genius was sitting there, and as immigration practitioners, we see every day something coming out like this, little changes, and they're all within the administrative area, so they don't have to go legislate anything. but just with the baseball bat of the executive power, right?
Sure,
They,
it's almost a psychological challenge in that sense. It's not
uh,
practical. It's a little bit of a psyching you out in that sense. So it's interesting to look at it.
you're right, right. So it's been a challenge for us to sort of navigate the Trump administration, and thank God we landed on a safe harbor now under Biden. At least common sense stuff. You don't have to abuse the immigrants. You can have rules. Of course, we all have rules. It's hard enough for the immigrants to navigate this. That's why they come to us, and we help them. But it was a sustained attack. It was almost like a hurricane, 24/7, throughout the 4 years. We were walking, so- trying to walk against a sustained 100-mile-per-hour wind. So that's
So I'll interrupt you just to kind of keep us on track to allow Judge Benson to finish his response.
Okay, the last question posed was, what changes will the immigration court see if the Biden legislation goes through? First of all, there's specific provisions to give the immigration judges more training. Now, there's not, my belief is not so much more training on what the law is, because you know what the law is. It's more training on how to be more discretionary, how to be more compassionate, how to be more human and understanding of these people that happen to go before an immigration judge. And their goal is not to deport as many people, but to help them negotiate through the maze of the immigration laws. And the immigration law, even today, is a very, very, the law is very sympathetic toward non-immigrants or non-citizens. And if it's applied, how it's applied makes all the difference in the world. For example, the Immigration Service has the right to apprehend anyone in the United States who is here in violation of law. But the part of the Biden administration's provisions is to find alternatives to detaining and locking people up, which is, as Mr. Willie pointed out, a more humane way of dealing with people. So I do believe that also there's a provision to eliminate the 3 and 10-year bars to people who were once here illegally and who remain longer than they should have to getting green cards. So the overall plan also envisions that there would be a lesser of a backlog in immigration courts. And once you do get the immigration court, the remedies available will become more readily available and be provided for immigrants in a better fashion than we have seen in the last 4 years.
So, Judge, you started with a Shakespearean quote of 1,000 deaths, 1,000 cut,
Yes.
deaths by 1,000 cuts, right? So let me add to the Shakespearean thing, because mercy is supposed to be tempered, justice is supposed to be tempered by mercy, right? And you have to seek justice, but you don't have to. You should not forget mercy too. So, and I think that training, not all the judges, but there are some we know who need that training to look at immigrants as human beings who have. So we have to apply the law. There's no question about it. But as you said, there's discretion. There is a kinder way to do it than it is being done by a few judges. So that said, um, Judge, now with the legislation being drafted, and I'd like to get my hands on the draft. Um, the big issue is in the Senate. You and I spoke about this, that they will require 60 votes, but the 60 votes requirement is for the filibuster issue, right? That is, in other words, to cut off debate. The Now, if the Republicans want, one senator can stand up and start talking, and interminably he can keep going, right? Until you get get the Senate to cut off debate. And to cut off debate, you need 60 votes. All right. So it is not as bad as 60 votes needed to pass the bill. Although with this 60 vote requirement for cloture, they can still play havoc. They could still, I'm sure they're sitting there and sharpening their knife right now to see which one they want to take off. But they can only have so much room to negotiate this. As we well know, 3 different times the Republicans killed immigration reform, and they killed it in using crazy arguments. I mean, I remember Cornyn last time killed that. All right. So this time the Democrats have the Senate, they have the House, they have the White House, but that 60 votes for cloture would be an issue, and the Democrats will have to play really, really carefully and skillfully to get the 60 votes to cut off debate.
Unfortunately, we have in the Senate a bunch of hypocrites, and they will do the best they can to destroy the bill. Because as you pointed out earlier, Mr. Willie, that means in 8 years, you're gonna have maybe 5 to 6 million more Democratic voters, and they don't want to see that.
Yeah, exactly. And that is their fear. That is their concern. As you know, it's funny how the last election played out just on the Republican side, purely on immigration. I mean, it was framed in different ways, whether it is race or whether whatever else. But ultimately, their fear is immigration, because they think that immigration is going to change the face of the United States. Now, but Biden comes, first day he slams the immigration reform proposals right on top. I mean, the first thing he did. So clearly, this is going to be the issue, and I'm telling you, this is going to be a relentless fight, and they're going to pull all stops on the fight. But I think we have the advantage in this particular battle.
Okay, so I'm just going to stop you here for a second. We are going to run a little bit over due to our earlier technical issues, but I wanted to give Vanchika a chance to get those last 2 questions, and perhaps we can address them.
Thank you, Shivanti. Yes, another question that we received was because of the changes in the administration and so much confusion. Is it true that premium processing for H-1B in the upcoming round of lottery will not be available?
I have not heard that. I think the premium process. Okay, I think what you're hearing is, once you have been picked up in the lottery, all right, they suspend. This is not just this time. This has been going on for a long time. They'll suspend premium processing, and they will allow the premium processing to be triggered about June. Okay, so that is not a new regulation. That's been around, because they have to process. They have to take all the cases that those who won in the lottery, those packages have to come. They have to process it and all that, and then they will say, okay, from this date on, premium processing will. So premium processing will be available, but it will not be just 15 days from the time you filed it. It will be, there will be a separate date for it to be triggered.
Okay, thank you. And do you want me to ask the second question right away? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think F1 visa is the student visa. So the student had a question that his OPT was rejected, and he's asked to leave in 60 days. What can he do about it? How soon can he file for an appeal?
Well, so I'm glad he was given the 60 days, which means he can go ahead and file another F1 application. It's another new I-20 and enrolls in school. I know some people don't like it. They have to go back to school and pay the fees. But sometimes that's the only way they can continue, right? So he triggers another degree, all right? Now, if it is a higher degree, let's say he was rejected, OPT was rejected for the bachelor's degree. If he does the master's, he gets another shot at the OPT after that on the second level. Now, the rejection of OPTs are usually very technical. OPTs are reviewed and judged and adjudicated with very strict rules. There's no room for error. So even if you missed the application by 1 day, you have no recourse. So that's it. Of course, the ultimate solution is for him to leave the country, go to Mexico, get the F1 stamped, and come back. It's not the end of the world. I know I see clients sometimes coming to see me. Their faces are drooping. They have not combed their hair. They have, they're just so depressed, thinking that that's the end of the world. So I tell them, listen, guys, it's not the end of the world. We have a few choices. We have a few options. And then by the time they go, they're smiling. They're feeling good, and I'm sure their blood pressures have come down. And next time, I'm going to give them a medical bill also.
Absolutely, why not? And definitely, thank you so much for answering that, Mr. Willy. And if you can contact the firm directly and get an appointment, like he said, to get your blood pressure down at 281-265-2522. And did you notice, Mr. Willy, I have that number memorized.
Yeah, I was just going to, the way you said it, I said, your dad has never forgotten that number. Now, I didn't know you also didn't forget the number. So, well, good for you.
Well, the daughter called her dad every lunch hour to talk at least for 5 minutes. So, But yes, thank you again. And the number again for the law firm is 281-265-2522.
Very good.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and we look forward to having you all as an audience for the 19th of this month again. And thank you, Vanchika, for joining us this time around. And of course, Judge Benson, your time is invaluable. Thank you, of course, to Dad to participate in this. It's a very valuable slice of information, and we look forward to seeing you again.
I think the Willy Law Firm has a new slogan now. We lower your blood pressure.
Thank you so much for making Namaste Radio a part of this webinar, and we look forward to many, many more webinars and bringing all that knowledge from the experts themselves. So stay tuned, and you can always follow the law firm on Facebook and on Namaste Radio. Will keep you informed for future webinars. And the website is www.grwpc.com.
Thank you. Take care.
You.
Bye-bye.